How's life? I'm back. I'm fine, thanks. Yeah. I guess I've been a little bit busy over the past few days, so I couldn't really stream in the evenings. Also, I was tired a lot, and I don't know, usually was either sleeping on or at my keyboard around midnight already, and then took me like some more time until I managed to go to bed, but still. But now I got some sleep, I'm relaxed, I'm not stressed out extremely, so I feel pretty good actually. Yo, Euler mate. My name is displayed in red. It's cool. In the stream up there it's blue, but I can see it also in like red, orangish. I think you should be able to choose the color actually. Somewhere. I'm not sure how the colors are determined from the thing that I use to embed the chat. It's a good question. So how are you guys doing? Hey, yours does seem to be correct, indeed. Weird. Any animations today? Yeah, that's my plan. I do wanna... Yeah, there are two possible things I'd like to do. Wait, music is getting a little bit crazy right now. Wait, should I tune it? Actually, the volume seems to be okay on stream. It's just too loud for me, maybe? That's better. Color is cool? Yeah, it definitely is cool. I agree. So sweet. So shy. Yo. So my plan for today, actually. I still have some documentation to write. I thought at some point we would be finished earlier this week, but then I didn't really have time to do any... Well, I did other things. And now we could finish that up, or there's another thing I recently noticed and I actually dislike. Lots of the default movement, transform, so lots of these basic classes don't have any documentation at all, and I kind of feel like that could be improved. You won't work on the examples in the website? Yeah, that's my plan. I do want to do that actually. Just not sure whether I will mainly write text or whether I will actually produce some things to look at. Not entirely sure about that yet, but there's actually an animation that I would like to produce. Maybe that could be another YouTube short thing or so. Could also do that. We'll see. Maybe I'll start with something and then we can branch out a little as soon as we feel accomplished. So here's what I want to do. First, I want to see my chat in... Wait. Why is this not here? Manim should be added to the verb? It should. I mean, I basically use Manimate all the time. Okay, there's my chat now. Good. Oh, that's funny. In my normal chat window, you're actually yellow. Wait, actually, I can show you guys. Look at that. Here you're yellow. On the screen itself, you're blue, and in here you're yellow. Not sure how that happens. Did you manimate it? I did not manimate it.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
It is, that's definitely true. Infinity channel points. Yo, you still played. Nice you. Oh. Oh yeah, true. I have infinity channel points. It's my channel after all, right? I have all of the beans. Ah.
Science isn't about why, it's about why not.
Okay. Indeed, also true. Yo, so I think I do want to start. Yo, there's a thing I reactivated this week again. I can show you guys because actually I think you might enjoy that. And it's this. Wait, where is it? It should be in this file actually. Oh no, not in this file. The scene file. Yeah, there it is. So here's what I did. I proposed a while back, but is it LF0 or LF1 points? Practically, I think that doesn't matter, and well, theoretically, I would assume it's rather LF0, but over LF1. But I don't know. It could be everything. Here's something I proposed a while back already, and now a few days ago I sat down and well opened the pull request up again, and I think you guys might enjoy this. Instead of writing Manim scenes as well in the usual way, with this decorator you could just write one single function, which is what most people do anyways. For the construct method, right? And with this approach here, you only need to specify one function, and you don't need to know about the scene and that you need to override it and need an instance of it. And actually, I can show you the documentation page, I think. Let me see. Yo, this is what we will return to at some point. It's also a bit small, actually, I realize. Let me increase this a bit more, and then I can show you guys what I did. It's a while back already. We have so many pull requests. Some of them even useful. Wait, how old is this? Ah, proof of concept, there it is. Yo, so look at that. Look at that, guys. Where's the documentation? Here it is. So instead of writing scenes as the usual class scene, some scene name, whatever, def construct, and then you put your code in there, you can just do it like this. You have one function which has a scene parameter, and then you basically write your code as if this were your construct function, but without the need of declaring a separate class that this thing is in. And if you just decorate it with this animation thing, this animation decorator, then it takes care of all of these things that you would usually need to do manually. I think that's quite useful, actually. I think I really like this approach because it hides a little bit of these technical things, of these design decisions that we've made for Manim, in the sense that you have this scene class and you need to override the construct method in there to actually produce animations. And like that, you have one function, you write your code in there, and that's it. Yo, Mr. Diver. Welcome. I've just been showing people the thing that I've proposed earlier this week, and I still like it. So, them animation decorator, yeah, exactly. I love it. That's great. That's great. Maybe we'll have it merged this time. We'll see. We'll see. Discussions have been a little bit slow, but actually there are not that many people active in development right now, so I don't expect too much feedback. It's more on the level like if someone disagrees fundamentally, then I think we should give them some more time to respond to it. There has been a discussion the first time I proposed it, but I think many of these arguments, some of the arguments were aimed at and a different thing, a different interface that I proposed at the time when I came up with this syntax the first time. Back then I wanted to have the scenes be callable, and then you could just call your scene and add keyword arguments, and it would automatically render it with the given parameters. And I think that might be a bit too much in one PR. So now this is really just about this mechanism that takes a function and introduces a corresponding scene. So yeah, we'll see. In case people like it, we can get this merged eventually. All right. Just like the idea that you can just have one function, because essentially that's what you do anyways right now, so I think it kind of makes sense. Music is kind of wild right now. Let me check something. Oh, fine. Yo, thanks for tipping. That's much appreciated. But really, you don't need to do that. You know. I appreciate the element. Thank you. You could have multiple functions. True. I liked your comment a lot actually. Regarding the splitting it into the mechanism that allows to replace or mimic what the sections do. It worked. It did work. I think I've never had someone do that, so it actually I should check. Give me a moment. I should have just turned 18 and trying a new PayPal. Oh, yo, happy late birthday? Or is it like, was it your birthday recently? And you deserve more? No, don't worry. Manim is like a hobby for me. I don't expect anyone to pay anything for that. I'm having fun, and I do have a job that pays, so it's not exactly for Manim, but well, there's a certain stretch to what I do, so I can usually argue a little bit. Let me quickly check whether this worked as expected, because I thought there might actually be TTS when you donate something. I might have to resolve that a little bit later if there's a problem, but let me see. Yeah, that's here. I see it. But why didn't it do anything? It's a better question. No. Whoa. Flashbang. You could also flashbang from me being all white today. Let me see what we have here. Settings. This thing. Why did TTS not... Oh, it was disabled. That's the problem. Well, now I see. Okay. That was silly. Okay, so let's try again. Optimizing Python is just frustrating. Yeah, it really is. At some point you reach the limit of the interpreter and you can't go faster. I would really love to say that there is one particular reason why Manim is slow, but if you start digging and you dig deeper and deeper, you see so many things that are kind of inefficient and that could be a bottleneck, but it's so hard to tell whether there's one singular thing. And at this point, I don't even believe that anymore, that there's just one thing that you need to fix and then everything would be much faster, unfortunately. It was last month that I created my bank account 5 days ago and tried to PayPal was working, and also it was just a little feel ashamed. No, please don't feel ashamed. I appreciate the gesture. Don't worry. We'll actually, let me see. Wait, do I have to... I have to save this down page. Save. Right now it's saved. Can go back. And if I go here now and say dashboard thingy, replay. Wait. Yo, do it. What is this? It's here? Aha!
Oil Ahmed tipped $1.
Now it worked. Now there's Brian. Yo, Sarah. What's up? Not like this. I mean, if you look at my PR and the changes, it actually changes something, and I actually lose more hope in finding a good. Yeah. That's my feeling as well. We occasionally we did spend some time on digging into things and seeing whether there's something easy that we can change. But at this point, I'm really afraid that basically we need to move all of the things that happen very often in like a Pythonized module outside of the library, and then maybe there would be a noticeable speed up. So especially if there's a library for computations with Bezier curves. The problem with that was that there wasn't a wheel built for the ARM macOS thing, and then therefore we kind of felt it would be better if we waited a little bit longer. But if we managed to move like all of the Bezier curve computations into that separate Pythonized library, then I think there would be at least some sort of speed up. The frustrating thing is that so many computations in Manim are implemented on also a low-level kind of thing, and yeah, it's kind of frustrating at times because there's so much. In so many places, the library tries to reinvent the wheel, which is if you make yourself aware that Grant wrote many of these things to get familiar with Python and to just learn how things work and then try to implement that yourself. That kind of makes sense that it's how it is, but it's still if you were to design a library that does things efficiently, then I think you would start from a completely different angle. Okay, monologue ending. Let's go back. I should do something at least. Right. Tried 1.2, but it doesn't work as well. Yeah. I feel like there's still some potential for optimizations. I think the after replacing the few instances we had, we got a little bit of a speed up, but not too much. How about putting object into another language? It's a rather big step if you say you would want to move some part of the library to different language, because you'd need to rewrite so much stuff. And just port Manim to C++. People have been there. So if you look through our Reddit, then you can see that people have been proposing Manim alternatives in different languages over and over. It's just that I mean, you need someone who works on things, and you need a certain momentum to start up such a thing. And I think the biggest problem with any sort of externalization of core features or core implementations would mean that the library itself internally would need to use at least consistent and sharp and clean interfaces, but it doesn't do that. So it's the first step anyways would be to clean everything out as much as we can, and then if we have the feeling that there's the library internally is at least consistent, then we can move on and maybe replace some things. Even Cythonizing some parts of our internal library code could be a thing. Could you not just write in German then if you need a different language? That would be an idea, but I'm not sure how many fluent German speakers we have. Definitely Bezier function. Yeah. I actually do feel that if we had like one module that contained these very low-level operations, then we could try to Cythonize that, and then it might even be successful. We've had people in the past come in and propose this. I think there are still issues. Let me see. There are still issues. If I look for Cython, you can see that this idea seems to come up again and again for whatever reason. That's the earliest one I can remember, that one. So there was this suggestion to just compile it in Cython, but then we never really got a response whether that works. We have a module like that, don't we? There is this utils whatever. We could try that. As long as we don't go and try to Cythonize everything at once, I think if we start with like single modules, it might work. It might work. Ben today? True. Speaking of mug, I should get some more coffee. I feel like drinking coffee. I shouldn't. It's like 10 p.m. here. I should not drink coffee, but I feel like coffee. I'll let you guys exchange about the Alps for a moment, and then I'll be right back. So it's not the Alps, it was something different. Library in C++. A little worried about overhead. Never did something with Cython, but it sounds like calling overhead for translation. Cython works well in some instances. I usually grab. There's this There's this article that I usually like to pass. Wait, my water is boiling. Be right back. Again, sorry. Okay, one last coffee today. Oh. There's an article that compares runtime, and I'm not exactly sure how really it works. But it works. I've used it occasionally in the context of SageMath, and there it works well. It of course depends on the exact things you do want to Cythonize and how far you can optimize things, but especially if it's like low-level computations, that should actually work fairly well, in particular for components that are called over and over again. So you could try things like Cythonizing the utilities module or so. Might work, and if not, then well. So I would just start with one single file, maybe the PCE file or so, because you need to make some changes to the code in order to Cythonize it properly. Yeah, we can perhaps try at some point. Yeah, so the idea of Cython has come... That did come up time and time again. Wait, why? Why here? That looks like a false positive. I should actually also go through all of the issues or many of the issues, because in recent times I've observed that there are more people looking for, well, easy issues to contribute to. And many of the issues that are currently open, I mean, there are 300 of them. Many of them are fairly general and not very particular. How can we do circuits in Manim? Is it possible? Yeah, people have been using circuits in Manim. There's this circuit dicts. That's the package for LaTeX, which you can use for drawing circuits, and then you just, well, do it in LaTeX. There are some things you need to do when I think there was some issue with like the stroke width, or maybe you need to set the color then appropriately. I actually don't know. But if you search on the Manim Discord for a circuit, then I'm sure you will find examples, because people have done that again and again. I remember someone wanted to make like a full plugin for circuits, but I don't think that ever went anywhere. But yeah, I would try just go and search on the Manim Discord server for circuit, and then I'm pretty sure you will find something. All right, yo. Let's take a look at one or two of the open pull requests, because I know that Mr. Diver has sent in a small one. Let me read that first. Pictures. I like pictures. Trying to laugh at the changes? No worries, I won't laugh at the changes, I promise. I might just laugh at the existing implementation. Okay, so... Oh, you brought on the add tip one. That's good. I'm curious. Okay, so instead of applying the norm along the axis, you just compute the norm like this and pass the axis. That's good. Makes sense, I think. So that one is certainly fine. For x, y, z in product x range, y range, z range, add get vector x, y, z. Okay, that... well, it makes sense. That's it? Well, almost. Okay, I like this one already. Instead of calling add over and over again, just calling it once with all of the argument, with all of the vectors present. That's good. It's a good change. I like it. NumPy array self function point. The doc compilation fails, but I don't know why it suddenly passes in a list instead of in the array. I don't think that there's a proper sanitation for all of these. Honestly, I do wonder why this problem doesn't appear more often. Because as people love mixing lists and the arrays for the coordinates, and I'm always really, well, impressed that this isn't a bigger problem. But apparently we do an okay job at translating from lists to NumPy arrays. So yeah, that was actually what shaved off the 3 seconds. I can perfectly imagine. I remember when I recently went through the add method, I was quite baffled at how complicated it was, and how well basically it deconstructs all of the objects every time you add a new one, just to check whether it's already in there somewhere. And especially if you add lots of arrows, that would mean that whenever you add a new arrow, it first takes all of the existing arrows, it deconstructs them, which means it puts together the line and the arrowhead, and then checks whether the thing you're trying to add is already in there somewhere. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's actually the fast part. What's the slow part then? Now I'm curious. I'm getting all of the objects with their family members and stuff. I can't imagine that this is, especially if you have many objects, I feel like this is a substantial overhead. The colors is really the heavy part. That's surprising to me. Okay, but then your question makes sense that you asked earlier then. Interesting. I'm not even shocked anymore. What's happening here? Special cases for Bézier curves? I'm dying. I found Benjamin's Facebook. Oh no. There's so many other things that are more interesting, at least I think. You found the Facebook. I don't think I have a particularly interesting Facebook. Because there's a ton of string manipulation or something. Dictionaries everywhere. And generating the gradient thing for vector field takes hours to compute. Ooh. You can officially be friends? I don't really use my Facebook anymore. I could actually delete the account and nothing of value would be lost. I don't know. Sometimes it reminds me of the birthday of friends and stuff. I sent him a friend request. Oh no, don't be disappointed if I don't accept, because I don't really use my Facebook anymore. I'm much more active on Twitter. Okay, so I see minor formatting things. I think that's in line with PEP 8. You can. The highest order operator here would be the multiplication, so I think it's fine to remove the spaces here. Last post was about Manim. That's actually true. The last post that I made was about Manim. I felt like I have many pre-commit made it like this. Oh no. I hate when pre-commit does stuff like that. Wait, so would it revert it if I did 2727? Let me see. My working directory is a bit messy again. I should probably take care of that. Don't let don't let AD Chaos see this. I don't know. I create new files here. My example scenes folder. Yeah, I put the new stuff all the time there. I never clean up. But then it's so useful because then I see there's the Cybertruck example. Do you want to see the Cybertruck example? I love showing that. Manim QM render OpenGL preview Cybertruck. Wow. Oh no, my encoder is struggling. Okay, I should be back. I have no idea how much you can see of that. RIP GPU indeed. That was Manim, by the way. It's fun if you could specify your own shader. One day I would like to understand how this works. We should learn OpenGL stuff together. I mean, I think this is just some example from Shader Toy or so that we managed to get running into Manim. One day I'll learn all of this. There might actually be a lecture that I'm giving at some point, but it's probably not so much about shaders. It's probably more about like basic computer geometry stuff. Shader crash course on stream. If I ever have to give a lecture on shaders, then we'll definitely have a shader crash course on stream before that. There's this thing. As soon as you are past, let's say, doc stage, so postdoc, and you don't really sit in lectures anymore. I mean, sometimes you still do, but if you want to learn something new, you usually don't sit in a lecture and listen to someone talking about it, but you rather hold the lecture. It's much more. The motivation to learn things properly then is way bigger. OpenGL is pretty okay to learn in a week because it's just a lot of pointers in a big state machine, but guess what? We have now Vulkan and 150 lines for triangle to render. It sounds terrible. That sounds actually terrible. I hate that Apple has such an unclear stance on OpenGL. I mean, they deprecated the render as far as OpenGL as far as I understood, but I'm not sure whether they actually plans to really remove it. I don't think that would happen very soon. Starting with Vulkan is really plain. Maybe we won't do that. OpenGL will all be supported as compatibility in Vulkan. To crack course on C++ and pointers were the hardest part. I mean, that's not that. That's pretty common to hear. Generally, when you do like lower level languages, C stuff, and pointers are pretty. Yeah. But if you, I don't know, eventually you get the hang of them. Sometimes. Currently going through a tutorial for Vulkan. Wow. Oh well. What was I doing? Right, I can remember. PR check out 2727. Let's see if we can convince the pre-commit hook to do the right thing. Where was this? Bézier. There we go. Okay, so may we do this and this question mark, or is Black gonna complain? Manim tills. Okay, pre-commit hook wins. Black doesn't want it. I see. I tried. So you say if you don't do this, the get vector one. Oh, because you constructed here like that, no? So before this is x right plus y up plus z out, which means x, y, z as a numpy array, and then you have it as a element of the product iterator. So you changed that. That's on you. Copy paste mistake. Maybe if you want to put a commit on top of that, I'm fine with that. But actually, I don't think it's that bad if we have a... No, actually, then the type hint is wrong, so maybe we should fix that. See you in a second. No worries. Also, if you want to do something else right now, please don't feel compelled to push a commit right now. I'll read the rest of the changes in the meantime. Okay, so we can't suggest a change here, unfortunately. Why not? Because I don't want to force people to work. Oh, okay. To be quite honest, I feel like in this particular case, the formatting imposed by Black is kind of bullshit, because I know that PEP 8 allows you to remove these spaces here if there are operations with different hierarchies, and well, I would open maybe because I'm working on it. Okay, then that would be appreciated, of course. have a project after my exams, and I think I'm gonna Manim it. General study of free falls. Classical mechanics. That sounds fun. Do you know about Manim physics? There's a plugin that can do some sort of physics things. Not sure whether you've seen that already. Let me see what I can bring it up. Never heard about it. I don't know whether it's working right now, but Iced Coffee has been maintaining this, I think. So it's here. I'll share the link in chat. And one thing is, look at that, for example. So it might be useful. And you don't well, the good thing is you don't need to implement lots of things yourself. It does. That's basically the. I think this up here is the code for this scene here. That's exactly what I want. There you go. Easy. Now you know why you're watching this stream. Thanks, man. Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. It's actually. I feel bad that it's. I feel bad that these sort of things are so hard to find. You need to know that there's a plugin system in Manim. Then you need to, well, read through these and decide that one of them is actually interesting. But the Manim physics one is one of the, well, more popular ones, I would say. Wish me luck, guys. I have exams starting from Monday. Yo! Hope everything goes well. Should I leave the SRA for a point? Wait. This line here, right? Oh no, this... I mean, you could leave it because, I mean, in the worst case, it just does nothing, I think. I was preparing so hard last 2 days. Just checks if it's an ND array. Yeah, then it makes sense. I think you can leave it. Worried about performance? I think that wouldn't hurt. Also, get vector isn't really something that's called. I mean, it's called often in the context of the vector array, but you can actually check. You can check if I mean, technically, the type hint says it should be a ND array, so maybe it's not necessary to check. And I think we have a good overview over where this method is called because it's just for vector fields, right? So this is like almost an internal method. I think you can leave it out then and just make sure that you pass a numpy array here. Did my thing just freeze? Yeah, it did. Okay. Okay, so we found that, and I think you're fixing it right now. I can't change these because Black complains otherwise. What do we have here? Length. It's a minor performance thing. Computing the length of a list actually is not that much of an overhead. But it's better. I like it. So that's good as well. This is fine. Refresh. I refresh. Vector right up out. Right. Okay. I think I'm happy with this. Looks good. It's not that much we're supposed to know enough to show up in the computations. This is resolved. Wait, what do you mean? In the old version or the new one? The mini dropped on the top. Wait. I'm feeling extremely stupid right now. What do you say? Just an ND array. You look at the readme, you will see the changes. The mini drop down on the top in the text. What are you talking about? I'm confused. But I think it's fine. Everybody's got a screenshot? Wait, I'll check Discord. I'll check Discord. I see, okay. 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 Now I understand. Let me show you the screen again. You shouldn't have eaten it away. No, it's fine. Now I understand. Oh wow, you tried lots of things, didn't you? There were some good things in there, I think. Actually, how many... I deprecated some of the old things, I see. You tried that. Ooh. I didn't see that there was something to open up. Because it didn't show in my browser. So that's why I was so confused. But yeah, now I understand. I also didn't read well enough to understand there should be something there. But now it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I do feel these sort of things. I can remember when I tried to well, essentially do the same thing but on a more general level for like general objects and stuff. I remember trying like lots of things and in the end nothing really would change. It's almost like whenever I changed something, the bottleneck shifted to somewhere else. It's not Christmas, we skip. The bottleneck shifted to somewhere else, and then it was really difficult to see whether the change I made improved something, whether it just shifted the problem somewhere else. I did not manage to get rid of it entirely. Best attempt was making the function explicit and returning a lambda, but in the end it was like 0.1 speed up. You could take a look at the vectorized BCA. Wait. You had that somewhere here, right? Wait. BCA vectorized, right? This one. And that didn't speed up things? That looks like... Because I feel like vectorizing the function should do something. It slowed down even more. Double the computation time. That's surprising to me. That's actually surprising. I wouldn't have expected that. The auto reference array and stuff. Yeah, sure. No, I would have imagined that bringing this down into a form that's even more compatible with NumPy should actually improve stuff, but apparently not. Apparently not. Shame. Yo, tell me that we at some point changed... Oh no, we didn't. Okay, we did. Okay, that's a SciPy function. At some point, Manim had its own implementation of like the factorial and of the binomial coefficient, and that's just screams inefficiency. You should never implement those things yourself. Except if you can't use external libraries, of course, then it's okay. But if you really care about performance, you shouldn't implement the binomial coefficient and stuff yourself. But yeah. Does adding deprecate change anything performance-wise? The problem is it's just 4 elements, like they're all... Wait, what? Always the same elements? Which code are you looking at right now? You just take the first 4, right? does adding deprecate change anything? The choose in PCA? I mean, it does the thing it's supposed to do, I think. K and point are both in the enumerate points thing, so both K and point iterate through the thing. And N is also set somewhere. Length of points -1. That looks good to me. But you've computed the coefficients yourself anyway, so that should be fine. And 1331 also looks correct. I guess it's the only cached function. I think Daryl added that at some point, maybe. I can't remember. But I can check. Oh no, it's not Daryl. But that may... Oh, that was me. I was wondering who merged it. Yeah, but it was cached before as well. I think Daryl implemented it at some point. Okay. Yo, let's do something. I did approve the one PR. Should I just see whether there's another one that we should look at maybe? I'm not sure whether there has been any movement recently. Let's briefly check. And otherwise I might... This one. No, wait, but I also already approved this one. Should be fine. Could merge some actually. Wait, there was one, this one. And I think there was a discussion where I should reply something. Okay, so Chopin looked at the text alignment stuff, because that's for paragraph. If you specify the alignment, it actually breaks in the current version in some weird way. If you look at that, this is what happens if you if you specify a line left of the paragraph. It does not do the thing you would expect it to, because spaces and tab characters, new line characters are all treated in a very weird way per paragraph. And the fix that I know, and that certainly is not documented anywhere, is that when you use paragraph, you can specify the disable ligatures parameter to be true, and then the alignment for whatever reason works correctly. Text, by the way, is a gigantic mess, and we're working on that. There is movement in terms of the text thingy, but yeah, it's a mess regardless. And right. The issue is if the disable ligatures thing is enabled, then after the changes he proposes here, weird things happen again. So, and then there was this here, which we should read, because there is lots of information here. Okay, let's get into it. I found some interesting things and tried some changes. Let me know what you think about them. As paragraph is a subclass of text, I need to talk about the latter. When text disable ligatures is false, then space, new line, and the tab are not counted as characters and thus not stored in text jars nor text subobjects. This was evidenced in my original post when I had to remove these blank spaces from char count variable to index my paragraph lines correctly. However, when text disable ligatures is true, then it does count them as characters. Blah 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 blah. This calls, which among others initialize self subobjects, but then it asks whether self ligatures is true or false. If it's true, then it calls self gen chars, assigns its value to self subobjects as a list, and then assigns blah blah blah. The thing is actually considers spaces as characters. So first of all, is this behavior a bug? Wait. So the treatment of spaces should not be different, should not depend on whether ligatures are disabled or enabled. Ligatures don't have anything to do with spaces. Why does it do that? Ah. That's so silly. Why do we do that? So if disable ligatures is true, then the gen chars method is used to get the subobjects of the text, which means the glyphs, and otherwise whatever. No idea where this comes from then, but on one hand, I assumed it's a bug and assumed that spaces should never be counted as characters. This blah blah, which is present only inside the else, blah blah blah. I didn't think so. Thus, I removed the space line and tested my original code in both cases whether disabled ligatures is true or false. It worked perfectly in both scenarios. On the other hand, if this is not a bug and if it's actually intended, no, I don't think it is. Okay, let's take this and then we reply. Quote comment, where is it? Quote reply, there we go. It is somewhat hard to say what behavior exactly is intended and what is bug, given how messy the implementation of the current text class is. If you ask me personally, then I'd say disable ligatures does not really have anything to do with spaces. And just with, I mean, it does have something to do with spaces, but not in the sense that, not the spaces between words, right? Just the ligatures are just whether or not two characters in a word form a joint letter. Like if you have, I don't know, I look at my keyboard and I don't see any obvious one. ST I think is one, TT, and all of these. These can merge and just be considered as one letter sometimes. It's also what happens if, I think maybe that problem is not as present anymore as it was before. The arrow, yeah. Sometimes when you copy text from a PDF and then paste it somewhere else, then you have all sorts of weird letters in there that are more or less obvious. And this is exactly what these ligatures are. In PDFs, they are rendered as ligatured. FI, yeah, FI is also a good example. Yeah. Also FL and all of these T. There are many examples. Double F is also one. So there are many examples for character groups that can be merged together. And just with grouping up some of the glyphs to merge with merging some of the actual glyphs into new ones, into composite ones. Got some food for a second, but I'd like to hit you up on the dash rendering again in a minute. Yeah, sure. No worries. I'll be here for a little longer. I don't intend to immediately hit end stream as soon as I finish writing this. I do wanna implement some stuff myself today, so I'll be here for a while. Anything to do with space and just with merging some of the actual glyphs into composite ones. So yeah. If your changes don't affect the code object, which is the next gigantic mess, unfortunately, which is also a gigantic mess, unfortunately. Negatively, I think there are some weird character counting things going on over there as well. I'd be perfectly fine with merging I'd be perfectly fine with merging the fix to your proposed change to disable ligatures. Why? Spaces should never be counted as characters. This is blah blah. The reason why spaces might have been considered as characters is I remembered something. I remembered that I think the reason might be to preserve that how string slicing works between the original input string and the rendered output. I think that spaces might have been deliberately considered as characters in order to have the same slicings or the same slices between the original string and the render. That's why there might have been a this weird distinction between disabled ligatures and enabled ligatures. If ligatures are enabled, then this difference is hopeless. You can't. The slices are broken anyways, because if there's an ST in there or whatever, then the slice is automatically broken. But if we disable ligatures, then there's a chance that every character in the word corresponds to one object basically, and then slicing might do the correct thing in some circumstances. To have slices of the text object return the same result as slices for the original string in the case of disabled ligatures. I think that's the reason. I think actually that was the reason why we why the current implementation of the text object is like that, why there is a difference of how spaces are regarded, whether ligatures are enabled or not. This is of course extremely bad design because nobody tells you that, right? There's no documentation, there's no hint anywhere that says if you disable ligatures, then the slices that you apply to your original input string are the same. If you apply those to the object, then you will get the same result. That's not documented anywhere, and therefore it's kind of a useless feature. The problem might be that people rely on it somehow. So if someone figured out that this works in this particular way, then this would be a breaking change. And yeah. I wonder whether it's worth to preserve that behavior somehow, or to at least to enable it somehow again if we really wanted to. Breaking things doesn't sound good. Yeah, I mean, do you know this XKCD comic that I leave this here for a moment and go on a quick toilet break, but this is essentially how I feel about this particular thing. Be right back. Yo. Back. Oh, the bot already still works. That's good. So I think what we do is we do the following. We could suggest that we introduce a new keyword argument which allows to. It's so complicated. How essential is that? How essential would it be that you can? What's the use case of taking slices of a string? The problem with the current implementation of text is that you can't do a similar thing as for tech, that you can group it into different things, and you can not slice particular, not access particular parts of your object. Yeah, coloring, exactly. What was the second suggestion that he made? If it's not a bug and it's actually intended, then what you have to do is decide whether it counts spaces or not, depending on whether the disabled literature is true or false. However, paragraph again, class currently doesn't have a way of knowing about information. So that another attribute, paragraphs consider spaces as chars as disabled literatures thing and modify it so that it removes spaces from the count only if considered spaces as chars is false. However, this solution didn't go well. The lines are strangely lined when disabled literatures is true. Yeah, that's weird. Also, alignment right doesn't look right. The question is the average user aware of this behavior? Because I don't think this is documented anywhere.
I have a bad feeling about this.
You should document it. Okay. Here's what we can do. Let's respond. Okay. The reason why spaces might have been considered as characters when disable ligatures is passed is true is to have slices of the text object return the same result as slices for the original string in the case of disabled ligatures. This behavior is, as far as I know, currently not documented, but I can't exclude possibility that knowledge about this is some sort of urban legend and present in solutions regarding text coloring. Concerning let's not say solutions that's present in examples illustrating text coloring. Semantically, I think this is not a good place. I think we are not in a particularly good place with this. But wait. I see this and I don't know. Why would anyone use the length method like this? I don't like it. I need to check something before we continue. Because it might be that this is sort of unrelated actually. Let's make an experiment or two. T is text. The horse is calling. Wait, are there any ligatures in there? FE. Fine. Should be at least one now. Is calling fine? That sounds. The horse is fine. That should be fine. There's at least one ligature in there. With ligature. I'm stupid. From Manim import text. Okay, if we look at this now. Wait, can you even see that? I should be able to, yeah. Oops. If we look at the characters, then this is a V group consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, okay. The sentence is too long. This is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably the dot. So this would be one character equals one thing. Is FI not a... Why am I doing it like this? That's not 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if I check T with ligatures dot subobjects, it's the same. Is the subobjects the same as the characters? No. Wait, what? Is subobjects just a list? Oh, it's just a list, right? Yeah. So if we compare chars.subobjects, yeah, it's the same. Okay, so that's actually the... Now I'm confused. Well, now I'm actually confused. If I T without ligatures, this is fine. TT disable ligatures equals true. Subobjects, length of that 16, and the characters also 16. So that's the same thing. Do I really have to go and read the text implement text object? I really don't want to do that. It's always painful. Self text equals text. So that's the original input. If the ligatures are disabled, then the subobject is generate the characters from... Okay, that's fine. And then the characters is just... the group of the subobjects. Okay, then it makes sense that this is the same actually. Then it's not so surprising. Where are the subobjects coming from originally? Probably somewhere here. Yeah, it's coming from here. What is unpack groups? Probably something for the SVG object. Okay. That doesn't make it any easier. That doesn't make it any easier, unfortunately. Okay, back to the question. Let me try again. Let's go for an answer again. What do we want to say? We want to say that there's a reason why spaces are counted, and I think that the reason is stupid. Because it's semantically it's not correct. Because spaces don't have anything to do with the ligatures. It is not entirely obvious. This is not entirely obvious to answer, fortunately. The advantage of having a mode where spaces are counted as additional characters, even though is that slices of the original string can work applying a slice to the original string to the generated object then has the same effect as applying it to the original string, which is useful for coloring parts of your rendered string, for example. Personally, I disagree with hiding this behavior behind disable ligatures, because as far as I know, this is just undocumented. This is not documented explicitly anywhere. This feature. This feature of preserving slices is not documented explicitly anywhere. And semantically, it is also not clear at all. At this point, it does not make sense to make far-reaching changes to text because the interface to Manim Pango will change event is being reworked CC Naveen. But it would still be nice to come to a better solution here somehow. Do you think some sort of compromise would be possible? For example, by possible, there's one L too much. Possible, for example, by creating a new keyword argument, preserve, no, not preserve. I like the one that he suggested already. Consider spaces, jars. Which could, or which this behavior of disabling, of preserving slices could then be documented explicitly along the lines of, if you want to preserve, to access parts of the string in the same way as the original string, pass set both disable ligatures equals true and consider spaces as chars equals true. This setting in this constellation, the alignment argument might not work correctly. If it's document, I think it's fine. If we just say that if you both specify this and this, then we don't guarantee that the alignment argument works correctly. I think this would be some sort of well, trade-off, I guess. I realize that this does not necessarily make the implementation of text any easier, but it might be a suitable compromise. A suitable solution until the text API is reworked overall. What do you think about this? Question mark. Okay, I think I'm happy with that sort of response. Mainly because the implementation is so messy and details are not really documented. Details and intentions. Okay, there we go, comment. Whew. All right, what are we doing now? Clap. I wrote 3 paragraphs. What an achievement! But this is a delicate issue because I don't want anyone to spend too much work into reworking the text object because it will be replaced anyway, or it will be massively reworked anyway sooner or later. The current state it's in is really not maintainable in the long run. So yeah, I close this down. I close this down. I close this down as well. I could write some more paragraphs here for the tutorial, or we try and implement, we try and animate something. Might be more fun for today. Philosophy of dash rendering. Oh yeah, true. You wanted to ask about that. Let me open up your PR. Wait, there was another change in the code object, I think. We just briefly check. Oh, but that's fine. It's fine. It's just if I think if it starts with a new line into something weird. Empty spans are placed. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so where are we? Fixed stroke rendering, this one, right? Who's checking all the PRs and issues? What do you mean by checking? There needs to be a way to interpolate between objects with different amount of points. Yeah, the current way how it works is the curve is just the object with fewer points is split into more curves and then well, that's basically it. So the smaller, the object with fewer curves is always sort of made larger in a sense. And I'm not sure there's a good solution for that. Because... But it kind of doesn't really work, does it? Yeah, the problem is it's not the... I think this is a very particular question about how... I think it's a very particular question about how the curves are split. I don't know that in full detail right now, and I would have to check myself a little bit. But the problem that you want to have is you want to interpolate between two objects that have a different amount of curves, which means that you have a different amount of points in your points array, right? And the way how Manim interpolates, or the way how Manim likes to interpolate, is take the 2 points take the 2 points arrays and just linearly interpolate between the two. If the one is called, I don't know, V1, P1, the second is P2, you have a convex combination of the two and you get the thing that is in the middle. If you start looking for a solution that doesn't require that, in the sense that you want to be able to interpolate between structures that have a different amount of points, then you kind of need a way to scale up the number of curves as you progress along the interpolation. So if you plug in alpha is 0, then you have then you are at the object with the fewer curves, and then if you plug in alpha equals 1, then you are at the object with the more curves. But what happens if you plug in like alpha equals 1/2? Intuitively, you would think that, well, you kind of have to have an object that has a number of curves that is in between somehow. But how would you scale these number of curves up between the two? And that's a difficult problem somehow. So what Manim does is, before it applies any form of interpolation, it first makes sure that the two objects that it tries to map onto each other or combine in some sense, that these two are compatible in the sense that the number of points are the same, so that it can simply do its straight path linear interpolation between the two. I don't know whether there's a better approach. Bezier remapping is a really difficult problem. It definitely is, and that's why that's why you're running into so many issues with the dashed objects, because there you need to do this in a very clever way somehow. The current way doesn't even really split. I mean, it doesn't it like look at the total length of the curve, and then it artificially inserts new splitting points at the appropriate ratios of the curve, something like that? I actually never really looked that much into it, unfortunately. Just duplicates the same point over and over until it is the right size. That kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense as well. That's a cheap way of getting a long curve in some sense. It's like if you, in my imagination, it's like you have a piece of cardboard and the thread that you are deforming on it, and duplicating the same point in the end has kind of the effect that you have punched a hole into the cardboard somewhere where you hide all the thread. And if you need to turn your curve into a longer one, just pull all of the thread out of the hole. And you have more thread that you can deform appropriately. What it shows? Yes. I do see what you mean. But is there a good solution? I think this boils down to the question whether there can be a good compromise. Because in many situations, especially if you have like a complex curve or so, it's probably, if they reinterpret BCA function, then we could definitely, for some animations, or in some situations, use that. I think there's a term for this in the context of Bezier curves in particular. The points are the points saved in an object that handles or points on a curve. Those are the handles. The points, the points array of an object consists of quadruples, which specify the anchors and the handles of the Bezier curves. So of vectorized objects, this is. Other objects don't have a curve. I don't have a points array. Or they have an empty one. To get the points on the curve and then make them to handles again over and over. Yes, if you wanted to have a clever way or the proper way of reparameterizing the curve into smaller segments, then you would need to take the whole thing, figure out where the proper splitting points are, and then recompute the handle and the anchor for these. And that might work well in some instances, but it might also be kind of bad in others, I guess. So I don't think this is something that we could do in general, but for specific applications, say for when computing the dashes of a when constructing a dashed object, then I think it would make sense to do something like that. Because then you want evenly spread dashes, right? And I think this is exactly what the Cairo implementation does. It looks at the length of the curve and then it inserts the dashed segments based on the length of the curve and not on some sort of distance governed by the anchors and the handles. Or maybe it constructs these segments based on the curve length. For normal objects, yes. Yeah. Your PR is for OpenGL objects, right? Not looked at the changes yet, to be quite honest. But this looks like OpenGL, yes. Yeah. So I don't know whether there's a better solution. That's the problem. For dashed objects, I think we can afford to recompute the splitting points of the curve based on the curve length, and I think it's fixing by using a different point. I don't really see a way around that. That's before, right? That's the after one. Yeah, the circle looks the circles look kinda so I could probably write the reinterpret function in utils. You could probably do that. The issue only is that it's probably rather expensive to do that computationally. But as I've said, in certain situations, I think it would be fine to call it. Just probably not for the general like transform animation or so. I don't think that it pays off there. The trick with just repeating the last point is fine, and it doesn't look too bad in most cases. The transformation between a shorter and a longer curve, if just the last point is like, or the last segment of the thing is like deformed into a bigger part of the curve. I think that's fine? Question mark. But yeah, for dashed objects, it's obviously not fine. You take a look at the circle example? Yeah, I just did. just saw that. If you mean this. And also, I mean these as well. Ooh, that's very bright. But you can see very well that this is currently not the video. Wait, do you have a video somewhere here? Did I scroll past it again? That's test scene code. It's in Discord. Ah, I definitely saw the thing on Discord. Let me see what I can... Ah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. This one here, right? What's happening here? So what are you transforming into what? It's like a circle and then you transform it. That's pretty. Do you transform every segment of the circle into the same circle? Circle to circle? Yeah. That makes sense. I like it. It's very spacey. First one is dashed? Really? Ah, yeah, that makes sense. The first one is dashed probably without the dashes visible. That's why it looks like the... That's why it looks like the dashes are. So basically this wraps every dash into the circle. I see. Doesn't work with OpenGL. Yeah. I see, that makes sense. I mean, Ryan already looked at this, right? Okay, but he said someone else should also review. Yeah, that's true, unfortunately. That's unfortunately true. That's the thing I want to fix. Yeah, I see. I mean, I know that the way the dashes work have been reworked for the Cairo renderer, and I'm not sure. I don't think that. I think it might be worth to just port over how things work there, but I'm not sure how far that has already happened. But yeah, I guess it doesn't break more. We think it doesn't. It's hard to say sometimes. It's hard to say. Okay. Yeah, I can take a look at this as well, and review it if Ryan says he wants someone else to look at this as well. I can definitely do that. Just not right now, because I do want to just get some things done. Really want to try the test for this. Well, we still have a problem with OpenGL and the testing a little bit. It's kinda annoying. But yeah. the interfaces are still a little bit too different to make this work cleanly, I think. So tests that work in both instances just like that. There was an effort at some point to have one set of reference data and then compare the output of both the OpenGL renderer and the Cairo renderer against the same set of output, against the same reference data. But obviously the difference in rendering from for the OpenGL examples was always a little bit too high. Remapping stuff is a good idea, then we can leave the PR for now. Yeah, I'll look at the code another time, and then probably tomorrow or so, if I have some time, then we can say maybe there's something that can be done, and otherwise we can just merge this and continue iterating. Fancy. Okay, was there anything else? We have a few approved pull requests actually. I could merge some of them. At least those 3 or so. Many of the others have still changes requested. And this one I have to do something for. Okay. But I don't do that right now because I need to do some admin stuff for that. I don't want to do that on stream. Okay, tell you what. I'll write like a paragraph or two about the render loop under Cairo because that's the PR I want to get done. And then we'll see. It's not too late. After I finish, I'll maybe... I could animate myself a little bit. There's a thing I want to do. And otherwise I don't know. Oh, I wanted to write documentation. True, I remember. I got annoyed that after looking at the like these basic classes that we have, if we go for like the transform animation, for example, doesn't have a doc string. Weird. If we go to Mobject, so many of these don't have proper doc strings and no examples at all. And I think like short examples for many of those would be very helpful. Restore, I think, no, also doesn't have one. There are so many mechanisms that should be documented at least somehow. It's kind of annoying that we don't have that. Scale to fit height. This was another thing. Wait, there was something. I think I got annoyed about how we have so many weird. I mean, those are actually not even that bad because the name fits semantically at least. But I feel like if we had one scale function that had a few more keyword arguments so that it could encompass all of these things, if you pass a certain width, then it scales it to the given width. If you pass a certain height, then it stretches to a certain height. And then we could get rid of then we could replace the implementations for many of these somehow and keep these maybe as aliases or so. But like that, it's so, I don't know, stretch to fit width, stretch to fit height. No, scale to fit height, stretch to fit height. It's so, I don't know, repetitive. Rescale to fit. That's a thing that annoys me as well. This dimension parameter that is passed around so much. Because it's so unclear most of the time. What is meant. Yeah, so we should really clean up a little bit here. I think that would help. I started doing that partially when I wrote the PR for the new base class form objects. Actually ran into that today with my vector field training. True, that was the thing I wanted to look at. Yeah, now I remember. Because you had mentioned that you have this vector field, right? And you had these vectors. And then I wanted to check whether there's something easy that one could do to realign the vectors somehow. No, you can't. You can't bind it to a given number plane, unfortunately. I think the best you can do is first scale the number plane so that the x and y so that the x and y coordinate, so that the x and y units are both exactly one Manim unit long, and then scale everything down together. Then it would work, because then everything is already pre-aligned, and then maybe add the vector field as a sub-object of the plane. Then you can do with it whatever you want. I actually thought about passing a coordinate system. I would not be against it. I think that would make sense. Because you can't bind the coordinate system to the vector, so, and it's this, to be more precise, it's this line here that just tells Manim use the global coordinate system and don't bind it to anything. And using the P2C, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. I'm just thinking, technically, you could probably, if you... would only be a 2-line PR. It depends on what exactly you want to do. So I think the version that works the easiest is creating a coordinate system that is constructed in a way that it originally aligns with the coordinates of the scene, then adding your vector field as a sub-object of that, and then doing with the scene with the coordinate system whatever you want. That's probably the easiest. Because everything else, I mean, you could probably. The problem is I don't quite know whether there are any other methods that rely on the global coordinate system versus some sort of local one. It's kind of hard to say. But I guess, I mean, you could probably just introduce it for this method here, and then if other methods do a similar thing, then we can still do it in a follow-up pull request or so. Yeah. It would be interesting to have a vector field relative to a given local coordinate system. But the basic coordinate system is in global space. The default number plane is relative to the global coordinate system. Yes. So if you just go and create plane equals number plane, for example, then the thing after you have imported it, of course. Then this is relative to the entire frame. And the coordinates are the same. And you could. So I'm thinking of something like. I played around with the zeta function recently a little bit. That was actually fun, but I couldn't really make anything nice. So if we do something like this. Scene, def construct, self, plane equals number plane. And then you create your vector field, arrow vector field. It's the arguments function, lambda p. Array. I don't know. Minus p1, p0, 0, something like that. And then we add plane, add vf. Do I need to pass the ranges as well? No, it chooses the screen dimensions automatically, right? And then I add the plane. We can look at something. We just check whether it opens up on the correct screen. QMP. One moment. So that would work. And then you can scale it down together as well. Goes plane, don't know, scale 0.5. My number plane is exactly in the middle. Yeah, you would need to do all of the computations first in the middle and then shift it somewhere else afterwards. Why not just adding a coordinate system to vector field in general? I guess we could. It could be the problem. If it works with like a generic coordinate system, then it might work. Otherwise, as soon as you have to decide whether it's like a 2D or a 3D system, then it gets more tedious, because I think the arrow vector field and stuff, they are all implemented in a way that if you pass something to the Z range, then things happen. So I think you should be able to make it work with a default number plane with this approach here, just by specifying the ranges correctly for your objects and for your plane, and in the end then moving stuff to where you want it. But that's as I said, that's more of a workaround if you want to have something that works ad hoc and without any changes to the library. The cleaner solution definitely would be to the cleaner solution would definitely be to have some sort of reference coordinate system for the vector field. But I can't. It sounds like it should be not too difficult to implement something like that, but at this point I'm very careful with making any promises. At this point I'm really rather careful with promises regarding how easy something is to implement or not. I have my own version of Manim installed anyways. True. True. Okay. So where was I? What was I doing? Right. I wanted to document a little bit. The thing I did, I remember now. Let me show you the zeta function thing I did. I want to write docs. Indeed. I wanted to at some point. Maybe I'll do that. But first, let me show you zeta function stuff. Just making sure that it doesn't open the wrong screen. No, it's fine. So look at what I did. That's not the critical line, right? That's like a quarter. Right. So I wanted to see how the zeta function transforms the critical line and all sorts of weird things in between. And this here is the complex plane. That's the line at with real part 1/4. The critical line would be at 1/2. And what the zeta function does is actually quite interesting to see. If you look at the image of the line, or to some height at least, then it does this. And then I actually wanted to sit down and make this some sort of this animation a little bit smoother, because like this you can't really see anything. It's just a gigantic mess that's unfolding from a straight line. It's kind of fun. It's just bending, and then at some point it's getting, all of this stuff comes from somewhere. And then that's the image of this part of the line at 1/4. And what I wanted to do this is I wanted to see how well you could see the zeros of the zeta function. And the interesting thing is, if I go back to like 3/4, the 3/4 thing. You can actually even see that if you move past this critical line and then look at, I don't know how far I went, like 100 up and 100 down, you don't cross the origin, so there are no zeros along this particular section of the line that I transformed. But if we actually use the critical line, so 0.5, 1/2, both, then we will see that the image will cross the origin a few times. And that these are the non-trivial zeros of the zeta function, which I found fun. Yeah, there you go. It's really hard to see that there's anything in particular about these, but you cross the origin here a few times and, well, zeros. Fun. The camera reminds me, the OpenGL camera doesn't comply with moving camera scene tutorial stuff. Don't care about that too much. We have to rewrite that anyways. It's not a secret that the interface of moving camera and things, that this is different between the Cairo version and the OpenGL version. I care because I want to use it. Well, that's a different story. That's a different story. Yeah, I was playing around a little bit because there was someone who asked stuff on our Discord. And I also tried something else. I tried to... Let me show you guys. The critical line stuff. All the things I worked on are things I fixed because I wanted to use them. That's fair. That's actually fair. It makes a lot of sense. I work in the same way. Most of the time. So the thing that's interesting about the zeta function is it has a singularity at s equals 1, which is exactly here. And then I got curious what happens if you take like concentric circles around the singularity and look at the transformation of sort of the image of these circles in the complex plane after applying the zeta function. So I want to see what happens to this big circle outside, what happens to the yellow circle inside. And if you apply the zeta function, something fun happens. And that's why I used the moving camera scene, because I wanted to zoom in a little bit on this effect here. You can actually see that the blue circle on the outside is the one that moves closest to, well, this area here. It's very close to the value of, what's there actually? Between 0 and 1. And the values that are very close to the inside, they move, well, a bit more outside. So there's some sort of inversion happening, and you can even see the blue line if you pay attention to the outer circle. You can see how that wraps around and twists once. It's kind of fun actually. If you look at that, then you can see here that nothing has happened yet. Then we move closer and closer and closer and closer until at some point there's a twist happening there. And this is where kind of this end over here moves down here, and then it's like you take a piece of paper and then twist it on one hand a little bit. And then it looks like this. So the outer border should be something like this, I guess. And it's actually fun. It's really cool. Yeah, I also thought so. You can even look at what happens to the parts that are closer to the singularity. That's also fun. But you don't see as much anymore. So if we go from 1 to say 0.1 with the circles, and I don't do the camera movement because now the closer you get to the singularity, the more the values blow up, obviously. So you won't be able to see as much. You can try. Let's see. There we go. So now we are looking specifically at this area close to singularity 1. The yellow circles outside are the ones that are closest to the singularity, so their value will be the largest. And you can see they get blown out. It's actually a pretty nice representation of how the function behaves in close to the singularity, because you can see that the yellow circle basically gets blown up, which means that if you study the value of the zeta function close to its singularity at s equals 1, it assumes values from all sorts of complex directions in a very tiny neighborhood. Because you cannot see this point on the right here in the outside of the all of these are values of this tiny circle around the singularity, which means that the closer and closer you get to the singularity, if this pattern continues, then this will be blown out of proportion more and more. It's kind of fun. I thought, at least it's kind of fun. Looks kind of funky somehow. But yeah, that's the zeta function. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. There's the thing about the zeta function I want to animate at some point, maybe. Well, actually more about the gamma function, but there's a really cool correspondence, which is not that well known, I think, between the exponential function and the gamma function. It's not just, I mean, the main reason why there is this sort of correspondence is because the gamma function is like the integral over the exponential function with some vector and blah blah. And you can see this as some kind of special integral transformation, and this transformation has some very nice properties, so-called Manim transformation. Maybe I'll produce some sort of video on that one day. It's just probably a little bit more difficult to explain than this partition stuff I did recently. Well, let me write a little bit of documentation and then I'll probably call it a day. Or let's look at where I would need to continue. And then maybe I'll call it a day sooner. I still have to look into the zeta function. Never really learned about it. I mean, that's not a surprise. It's something rather specific. And I don't think you really run into it as a computer scientist that much. There are other things you run into. I mean, it depends on things you're kind of interested in, but I would say zeta function is not that likely to appear. It sounds really interesting still. I mean, it does. Complex analysis in general is really quite interesting. I can only recommend. I can recommend learning more about complex analysis. It's really beautiful. Let me get the PR number of my documentation thingy. $25.50. At some point I'll remember. PR checkout $25.50. Okay, where have we stopped last time? I wrote a little bit at some point when I was on the bus. Oh no, we actually right at the point where we start rendering frames. Wait, let me read like the last paragraph or so. Jesus. Okay, the play call preparing to enter Manim's render loop, then we enter play and stuff. Compilation of animation data. It's kind of silly, but well, it happens anyways. The caching mechanism, which I didn't go into detail. Beginning all of the animations. Added to the scene, right. Okay, and then we are at our concrete example again. For the call that plays the replacement transform, so just to recall the animation that we are discussing in this little tutorial here is this one here, where we have an orange square, a blue circle. We add the orange square. We play animation that replaces the that transforms the orange square into the blue circle. We have a small dot which is added and updated, placed next to the circle. Create the dot, animate it, and so on and so forth. So it's not, this part is not that interesting. Or, I mean, the entire tutorial until the point where we've stopped working on it last time basically was, we have this object here created, so we know that we have some sort of replacement transform object. We started to actually play the animation, and that's that was where we stopped last time. For the call that plays the replacement transform, there is no subcaption to be taken care of. The renderer then asks the scene to compile animation data. Passed argument already is an animation, no additional preparations needed. There is no need for processing any keyword arguments. The object bound to the animation or in square is already part of the scene, no action taken. Finally, the runtime is extracted, which is 3 seconds, and stored in scene duration. The renderer then checks whether it should skip, it should not, then whether the animation is already cached, which is not. The scene then begins the animation. For the replacement transform, this means the animation populates all of its relevant animation attributes, compatible copies of the starting with the target object, so that it can safely interpolate between the two. The mechanism determining static and moving objects considers all of the scene's objects. At this point, only the orange square determines that the orange square is bound to an animation, therefore it is a moving object. And then we render some frames. Exactly. So, if we look at the point in the code where we are right now, so let's go deep dive. That's the tutorial where we have to continue writing. That's here, and if we would start our debugger, then we would be in the scene, in the play internal. Now we're not in play internal yet. That happens almost we're there. So which means we are in the renderer. Yeah, there we are. This is the point where we have checked the caching information. Yeah, and here rendering happens. The file writer begins the animation, which means it opens up the FFmpeg movie pipe, and the scene begins the animation. That was the last sentence that we've written in the example thing, right? Wait, there is the deep dive. Yo, we need to close all of this, otherwise I'll be confused. Close. Deep dive goes here. Begins the animation. this is gonna be bad. Maybe we can describe this static frame rendering, because I think if we do that, then we have to touch most of the things that are serious anyways. After that, it's really not, well, that more. I don't think it's that much more exciting. Because if you look at self.save static frame data, there we go. Compute and save the static frame exactly. Yeah, because this calls update frame. So this is there's nothing really we can work around here. In order to describe how the static background is rendered, we have to explain how rendering works. Because this is the method that actually does the magic. To do description in docstring. Yeah, would have been nice, right? Why document how things work? Yeah, updating the frame is actually, this method is not that complicated. If objects are not passed, which is not the case if not objects. Wait, what? Mobject equals static mobjects. If not static mobjects, return none. Okay. So this has an early exit in case there are no static objects, which is actually the case for our toy example, which means I get around I get around describing anything here. Well, that's nice. I'll do it like this. Because I do want to stick to the toy example a little bit. I will say that this is the place where the background image would be rendered. Rendering works exactly the same as in the case of the normal frame update, but in this case, what do I want to say? I guess I will only describe how rendering works for the actual moving object part, because there is nothing that happens in this instance at least. Yeah, let's do it like that. I think that's fine. Okay. For every animation that is played, the first... No. What did I say about this mechanism? Let me see. The mechanism determines static and moving objects specific to Cairo renderer. The OpenGL renderer works differently. Blah 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 blah. See implementation of blah blah. Okay. Thanks to the mechanism that determines static and moving objects, we know that the renderer can now render the static background. We know which objects are part of a static non-changing background. Wait, what did I say about this mechanism? Blah, blah, blah. After acceptance, the carrier determines which of the scene's objects can be painted statically to the background. Okay, so I did say that already. As mentioned above, the mechanism determining, that's not how you write determining, that determines static and move. Due to the mechanism that determines static and moving objects in the scene, the renderer knows which objects it can paint statically to the background of the scene. Practically, this means that it renders a background image. It partially renders a scene, like to produce a background image, and then in a second, and then when iterating through the time progression of the animation, only the moving objects are repainted on top of the static background. Okay. Save static frame data. Was this just called over there? Yeah. This is silly. This is actually silly. I mean, look at that. The save static frame data, the save static frame data method of the renderer assigns self.static image equals none, and otherwise, then it checks whether there are any static objects. If not, then it returns none. Fine. If there are any static objects, then it doesn't return here. It updates the frame with the static objects. Well, then it gets the frame, saves it into the static image attribute, returns the static image attribute, and then saves it again to the static image attribute. Why does it happen? Sometimes it makes me tired to look at this, really. I'll mark this to do here. I won't change it. I won't change it right now. Copilot knows indeed. I wonder whether Copilot thinks that about everything. No, I really like that a lot, I have to say. Self.save static frame data already assigns self static image is there a reason to reassign the attribute here? The answer is no, there is no reason, or at least none that I can think of right now. Is there something that inherits of Cairo renderer? Let me check. No. Then I actually can't think of a reason why this would make sense. Have the method right here. The method assigns self.static image, and then for whatever reason it still assigns it again here. I mean, this is not something that costs a lot of performance, actually it doesn't at all, but still it's weird. Semantically I also don't like it, to be quite honest, because this method here is called save static frame data. If a method is called save static frame data, then I shouldn't have to save the static frame data myself after calling it. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it. I'm actually tempted to just remove it. Should we bet whether the library is broken now? Should I run PyTest and see? Pause, champ. I wouldn't be surprised if there was now some spurious error in some completely different part of the library. But actually, as I've said, I can't see a reason why it would be like that. Why should you need to reassign the static frame data again? It would only make sense if there was a second method, save static frame data, which would override this, but as far as I can tell, this is not the case, so... You know what? I think this is something I'll change. I think this is something I'll commit. Because I don't want to explain it wrong, and I don't want to explain it how it is right now, because it doesn't make sense. And I don't want to put another disclaimer here that everything is messed up and, well... Right about now, this weird test that calls the OpenGL renderer should open up. I still don't know which test exactly it is and why it does that. Maybe like in a second or so. Maybe someone has fixed it. That would be nice. That would honestly be nice. But I wouldn't expect it. Okay, I think this was a safe change. Otherwise something would have happened by now. Oh. Yikes, small f. I should be back. Okay. Yeah, I just saw internet dropped out for a moment. There the test is. Okay, it's still here. Nice. I was almost missing it. It dropped again. Wait. Oh, I don't like that. It's really... It's really acting up right now. I don't like when the little... Your camera froze? Yeah, it's still the internet. It's still the internet. But I should be back now. I dropped a few frames. It's possible that audio still came through. Because I'll go again. Okay. It's really weird. I don't know why that happened. I have actually no idea. My provider here, I don't know. My motivation to investigate why we have these internet issues from time to time has been, well, I should really call them and ask. But then they would probably say, well, if you experience connection issues, maybe try with a wired connection, which I can't do right now, but it's a different issue. The outlet for where the internet comes in is too far away from anything basically in the apartment, so we just have the Wi-Fi router. I'm streaming via Wi-Fi. Maybe do some resetting at 0:30? No, it's completely random. And sometimes it's only like for a second or two, and apparently in the afternoon, you remember when I did my Matura streams, then it dropped out for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, which is extremely annoying. Because there were actually some people watching. A few years ago, my internet provider always dropped at exactly 0:30 for like a minute. That sounds like a restarting router then. Scout streamer stream, yeah, exactly that one. Okay, so that was a safe change apparently. Let me commit this, because otherwise I will forget that I changed this. Save static frame data already assigns. What was the thing? The frame. No need to do it twice. Okay. Much better. Okay, then let's go to here and say the renderer cars method Cairo render dot save static frame data, which first checks whether there are currently any static objects, and if there are, what does he do if there are? If there are, the renderer updates the frame and then saves the frame. It updates the frame only with the static objects and then produces numpy array. It updates the frame only with static objects. More about how exactly this works in a moment, and then saves it in the rendered frame. No, wait. It updates the frame and then saves the chorus and numpy array representing the rendered frame in the static image attribute. In the static image attribute. In our toy example, there are no static objects. And so the static image attribute is simply set to none. Okay, easy. So now we're here. Yeah, so now the renderer checks whether the current animation is a frozen frame, which means it can just take the existing static frame and extend it over the period of the animation time. It doesn't need to update anything actually. That means it's just a frozen image for the time. Actually, it updates the frame first with the moving objects as well. Okay, that makes sense. This is just to paint the moving objects as well on top of the but actually can there even be any moving objects if the animation is a frozen frame animation? Because what does that mean? If scene is current animation frozen frame, in order for that to happen, the current animation has to be a wait animation. It has to be the only animation that is being played, and the wait animation that is being played has to be static. I don't think that there can be any moving objects, so I think this actually doesn't make any sense. Don't think this is necessary. I might be wrong about this. I'll just edit as a to-do for now. I don't want to think too much about this right now. To-do, this is a hack again. I like Copilot. The frozen frame. An animation is a frozen frame animation if it is a wait there are no other animations being played. There's a static wait, and there are no other animations being played. Moving object. Thus, moving objects are probably always empty. I think it's not that inefficient to do an update of the frame, especially if we look at this and mobjects is none, then probably doesn't really do anything. If not mobjects, if mobjects is none, then it uses all mobjects. That might be inefficient. I mean, this is not something that where we can find lots of time, but I think this is an instance where the background is simply re-rendered. In the worst case, this could cause objects being rendered twice, because they are painted once in the background and then they are updated again on top of that. That's a good question. I couldn't say. We might be able to reproduce to check. Now I'm curious. So we print whenever this happens. And this is I'll only render a frozen frame. So which means I'll go here. I'll create a... Wait. My headset just turned off. I don't like it when it does that. Usually it beeps a few times before it does that. Sometimes it just goes, I don't know, triple beep and off. Class... Wait. What? Def construct. Then we add a circle. Self.add C. Color equals red. Fill opacity 0.5. We add the circle and then we play. Wait. Frozen frame equals true. And now we render this. Now I'm really curious what happens now. QMP. The thing that cannot happen, if we now see that this Manim should detect that the circle is a background object for the animation. So it should first draw the static frame, and then it should detect that there are no moving objects and do something. If it does the wrong thing, namely if it passes an empty moving object list to the update frame thingy, then it could happen that the circle is added twice to a scene, which would look weird with a fill opacity of 0.5. But let's check. We should see an entry in the list then as well. For some reason this isn't run. So the frozen frame is true, but this part here is not. Wait, where did I add my print? Did I add it in the update frame one? Over here. Why is this not running? If not mobjects. Which mobjects? Scene.moving objects. Wait, what? Now I'm confused. Moving objects, colon. Scene moving objects. Tell me your secrets. Oh, that's the ghost object that is attached to the wait animation. Which is also silly if you ask me, but well, that's again one of these weird things. The design, the way how animations in Manim are designed, means that every animation has to be attached to an object. Wait animations are also animations, they just don't do anything. They do need an object as well that they are attached to though. And in case of wait, the thing that Manim does, it creates an empty object. So just a generic object without any points, without anything. No color, no stroke. This is not rendered anywhere, but it's inserted into the scene just because. And this is what is the moving object right now. So there is actually an object that is moved, and therefore we don't run into the problem. We don't run into this problem, but it still means. So it's not empty. Probably always consists of the object that is attached to wait. I still think that this is true because the animation that is being played has to be a wait animation. There can't be any other moving objects because this newly created object is not part of the scene yet, so there can't be anything above it which would need to be re-rendered as well. So actually, I do think that this is, if we are in this branch, in this if branch in here, then the moving object list will always be. Will always just consist of the object, the generic one that is attached to the wait. I should do some experiments with that, but yeah, well, we can check at some point maybe. Okay. Where was I? I simply set to none. Okay, so the background image has been rendered for example. Next, the renderer is the renderer doing things, right? Yeah. The renderer checks whether the renderer asks the scene whether the current animation is a frozen frame. Frozen frame animation, which would mean that the renderer, don't have to put this in parentheses, which would mean that the renderer actually does not have to re-render, repaint the moving objects in every frame of the time progression, but rather, which would mean that the renderer actually doesn't have to repaint the moving objects in every frame of the time progression. It can just take the latest static frame and display it throughout the animation. No work. It can then just take the latest static frame and display it throughout the animation. Full stop. Have I said something about frozen frames before? No, I haven't. I should say something. So let's make it a note. Wait, how do I... Yeah, I have made notes before. And the condition for an animation being a frozen frame animation is rather narrow. Essentially, the animation has to be come from scene.wait. Let's make it a method. Scene.wait car. And we have to check, and we check whether the animation is a static wait animation. And this is checked by this thing here. Essentially, the animation has to come from a scene.wait car, and there cannot be any time-based updaters present. Any time-based object updaters present in the scene. There are also ways to override this behavior. See the implementation of. I feel like I've talked about this should update method somewhere already. So that's scene that should update objects. Method scene should update objects. For more details. Should update objects. Wait. The compile animation data one, I've mentioned that this already. In case the plate animation is a wait animation, the method checks whether a static image should be rendered or whether the render loop should be processed as usual. Oh wait, so I mentioned this already. I'm repeating myself, that's not good. An animation is considered a frozen frame animation if it is a static wait. If only a static wait animation is played. See the where was this? Somewhere here. Compile animation data, right. See the description of loop above or the implementation of method scene should update objects for more details. In our example, we play. Wait, what do I want to say? There are no static objects, and so static animation is simply set to none. Renderer asks the scene whether the current animation is a frozen frame animation. Again, not true. It can just take the latest static frame and display it throughout the animation. This is not the case. Wait, we do it after the node? As our replacement transform is certainly not a frozen frame animation, this is skipped. Wait, what am I doing? I have to look here. Sometimes I get confused with the window I'm looking at. Yeah, and then the method at the heart of the method at the heart of the render loop is played, which is the play internal method. As our replacement is certainly not a frozen frame animation, is skip. Generally speaking, wait, this is This is kind of bad. If this is not the case, like just as for our toy example, just as in our toy example, the renderer then calls the scene play internal method, which is the integral part of the render loop. It lets the scene iterate, step through the time progression which is the integral part of the render loop, parenthesis in which the library steps through the time progression of the animation and renders the corresponding frames. It doesn't, I mean the library renders, that's fine. This can be deleted, this can be deleted, and now we are at the play internal method. Okay. It's again not the greatest design that the renderer suddenly asks the scene to step through the time progression. I feel like this is once again just an example of the scene having all of the information and for whatever reason, I don't know. I feel like the parts before that should have also mainly been done by the scene. There's literally no reason why we would have to wait for so long until we can go back to the scene and then iterate through stuff. So all of this play method of the renderer, I don't really see why the renderer has to do these things in particular. Most of this could live in the scene as well. There's no reason to abstract this away, really. Or at least I don't see one right now. I don't see a good one right now. Yeah, and I think with this I'll stop it for today. We managed to write a few paragraphs, that's good. And next time we'll actually discuss the play internal core, in which, well, the rendering takes place. And the rendering itself will not be that exciting, to be quite honest. Because in the end what happens is the scene will ask the renderer to we will step through the time progression, so we have some certain some given time of the animation. The scene will ask the renderer to update the frame. The renderer will ask the camera to capture the objects of the scene, and there the weird stuff will happen where we iterate through all of the objects of the scene from bottom to top, and basically just draw one of them, draw all of them one after another. And drawing, yeah, this uses this will use this interface to the Cairo library, where we pass in the control points and the anchors of the Bezier curves, and we'll get back some sort of thing on a Cairo canvas, and at some point this is converted back to a NumPy array, which we will deal with, and then this is at some point piped to this writing process, and that's basically it. Yeah, it's not. It sounds more complex than it is, I think. In the end, we ask the Cairo library to paint something on its canvas, and then we look at the canvas and transform that back into information that Manim can process. All right, enough for today. Save. Describe rendering of static background. Next is up to play internal. And then we pull, which I should have maybe done before. No, it's fine. Then we push. Okay. And next, the pre-commit hook will complain again, because I still haven't installed it here. All right, a few more paragraphs for this monster. But I'm actually pretty happy with where this is going. So it's nice to have this sort of thing. And I hope it will be helpful for people that are interested in how the library works. It is a pretty long thing. How many pages is that? 12 pages? I should do something with that. It lives up to its name, a deep dive. True. I do wonder whether anyone will really read that from front to back. Make it into a paper? I could perhaps make it into a paper and submit it somewhere. Question is, we wanted to write something like that, but in a much shorter version, and send it to the journal for open source software. This is too specific for that, because for something that you would submit there is like more of a broad overview of what the library does and how it not really how it works. But I mean, this can still be useful, I guess. Maybe I should see what I can. I think it's probably also a bit too colloquial for something scientific-y. Are there any Manim papers already? Not so sure. I know that there are some citations, I think. I think I solved it by copying the arrow vector field thingy. So the line with a number plane. Then copying certainly also is an option. Yeah, it's probably... You're probably right. That's probably videos in Discord. Let me check. Oh, there it is. Thanks for the ping. There we go. Ooh. That's nice. For a moment I thought I saw the same problem with the arrowheads again that we have, that we had for many releases. Just read through the graph implementation. It uses stretch and get unique size. The graph implementation? You mean the graph theory graph implementation or the axis stuff? Probably the axis, right? 3D axis and stuff. Parametric graph. Ah, that one. Yeah, sure. Stretch and get unit size. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. This is really fancy. I like it. Yeah, it's convenient to have some way of aligning the vector fields with some given coordinate system. I can't stop. I think we'll just propose the coordinate system. A separate class, you mean? Makes sense. It could be a static method of a, or not a static method. It could be a method of a vector field. Casing inverts another function. Yeah, I was wondering. I think it could even be a method of a vector field that you can use to align it and transform it somewhere. But yeah, feel free to propose whatever makes the most sense to you. You've been working with this. I'm just making some stupid comments from the sidelines. It's very soothing, I have to say. Field fit to CS. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Maybe you meant that as well. I'm not sure. Anyhow. All right. I did, but I'm tired. Yeah, me too. Yeah, so I'm happy with the little progress that we made today with the tutorial as well, and we looked at some GitHub stuff. I think that was successful in terms of work on Manim. Some discussions were quite productive, I think. So yeah, I'll leave it be for today. I will be back tomorrow. This time I promise. Well, for me it's already today that I'll be back later, but stream tomorrow, probably around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier. Depends on things. And yeah. This was nice. Maybe we'll do some actual gaming to it tomorrow again. Just short Manim part and then some other stuff. Keep it exciting. But we'll see. I'm invested in Manim. I actually like doing that as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a blast as usual. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you had a good time as well. and hope to see you soon again. Have a good night, everyone, and until next stream. Bye bye.